Hello, everyone, and welcome to round number 11 of the FIDE Candidates 2024. I'm here with you guys, Grandmaster Nitzan Steinberg, and this is round 11, you understand? 4 rounds left to know who will be the next challenger of the World Championship match against Grandmaster Ding Liren from China. So, let's see the games in round 11. As the videos, the last videos that I already upload, you can see something in the background. So, in today's video, you will see the Moldova flag. So my parents born in Moldova, also my mom and also my dad. So there they met the first time, and so for me Moldova it's always something like country very close to my heart. So this is one part of me also. My parents are from Moldova. So, let's start the first game in this round. We can see with white pieces Alireza Firouzja against Nijat Abbasov. Knight f3, knight f6, b3. Another time Firouzja is doing the unbelievable on the opening. He's just go from the preparation as just playing chess. I really appreciate such players that are Dutch, just wants to play chess without any preparation, don't want to go analysis and everything. And b3, c5, bishop b2. As you remember, Alireza did it one time against Nepomniachtchi in this tournament, so he's doing again against Abbasov. Let's see if it's worked for him. e3, g6, d4, c takes, knight takes. You can see already here Firouzja don't know his prep, and also Abbasov is thinking 5 minutes. So I'm not sure that this position already familiar with Abbasov. Bishop g7 makes a lot of sense. Bishop e2, castle, and takes on d4. Bishop d4 and d5. It seems like black is just fine. Knight d2 was played. Queen d6 makes sense, but in general, the first move that I thought in this position is just to play bishop f5 to develop the last, small piece, like the knights and the bishop. Bishop f5, rook c8, the heavy piece in this diagonal, the file, of course, this bishop on this diagonal. So it seems like bishop f5 should be one of the moves that Abbasov should consider, but he played the move queen d6 with the idea of playing just e5, rook d8, and bishop f5, rook a c8. It also makes sense. c4 was played by Firouzja. Of course, after d takes c4, just knight takes c4, and white wants to put this bishop here, the knight here, the rook on here, and of course has an opportunity to get an advantage. Rook d8 was played. I think e5 Firouzja considered to be the best after c4, because e5 it's really concrete, right? Bishop b2, and now maybe something like rook d8, right? And here, c takes d5, for example, it's not so good. Knight takes d5, knight c4, for example, just queen e7, I think, or c7. No, I think queen e7 makes a lot of sense, because in this square, rook c1 will annoy him. So queen e7 and black just totally fine here. e4 maybe, bishop comes to f5, rook a c8, and there is nothing to worry for black. So rook d8 was played, and in this position c takes d5 makes sense, but also c5 was interesting move to play, because queen c7 and now maybe f4. The idea is just blocked the e5 move by white, by black, of course. And I'm not sure what is the next move for black. For example, bishop f5, I just think b4, a4, rook c1, b5, and it seems like the black pieces are not good, and the rook on d8 is doing nothing, and this bishop is quite strong in this position, and also knight e3 will come, knight e5, also to protect this bishop on d4. So it seems like in white position is very good in this position. After queen c7, f4, maybe there is something, knight e4 for example, I think needs to be considered, but b4, just b4 to play. For example, bishop takes d4, e takes d4, knight c3, just queen e1, and white is just better. For example, this position is this strong knight, what I'm doing, this very strong knight against this very bad bishop on c8, knight to 3, knight e5, the position is closed, rook e1, these very strong pawns here in the center, and the black pieces are doing nothing. So yeah, he played the move c takes d5. I think c5 was an interesting line, but queen takes d5, bishop f3 is coming with the bishop here. Of course, after knight takes d5, I think knight c4 or knight e4 was the point, and after queen c7, for example, takes, and queen d4 check, f6 for example, rook a c1, something like this, and queen b2 will come, rook f d1, and some maybe very very small initiative and you know, like advantage for white, but also I'm not sure bishop f5 for example. I'm not sure, there is nothing to jump with this knight on c4, so yeah, it seems like everything is fine for black. After e4, of course, knight f5 and knight f4 with these two attacks here. So let's see, queen takes d5 was played, bishop f3, queen f5, and now rook c1. I think knight takes d5 was a little bit better, because queen d5 is just bringing the white pieces to get, you know, like to get in the better developments with the tempo, right? Bishop f3, the bishop wants to be on f3, and after bishop f3, queen needs to go, and now rook c1, and now a lot of threats like rook c5, queen c2, rook c1. So yeah, it seems that black did something wrong here. Knight e8 was played, rook c5, and now e5 was played. I think maybe this was the last mistake that played by Abbasov, and he thought like 23 minutes, you know, it's unbelievable that such strong player thought a lot of time here and did so you know, like so important mistake. After e5, just knight c4. The point is just queen a1, I think, queen a1, this is the threat. Also knight takes e5, it's a threat of course. So f6, and now rook d5. Maybe this was the miss by Abbasov. You see, 10 minutes he took the rook on d5, bishop takes, king h8, and now bishop c5. You can see here the very very bad situation of the black pieces, and the very strong situation for the white pieces. Of course, this rook is not into the game, but you know, like queen will go to e2, d2, rook d1 will come, or c1, and everything is going great. And you can see that this pawn on a7 is a weakness, pawn on b7 is a weak. So yeah, it's just losing absolutely. I think in this position maybe just to play queen e6 maybe, or maybe queen d7 also makes sense for me. But also in this position, I think something like bishop takes g7 maybe, knight takes g7, and now queen to a1. For example, queen d2 is not good because of rook d1, and it's problematic. So rook a1, but it seems like black should be fine after, for example, knight e6, queen e8, I know what, rook b8, bishop d7, bishop c6. Of course, white is pressing, but not something you know, like not something terrible for black. But e5 just losing, yeah, knight c4, rook d5, very strong move. For example, here after bishop e6, maybe you can find just the winning move e4, and the queen is under attack here. For example, you know what, queen g5, just bishop e3, and yeah, it's bad. Queen h4, just take on d8, and the game is over. And after rook takes d5, e takes d5, and double attack here. And white is winning, yeah, white is winning. So bishop e6, e4, and the game is over. So yeah, take on d5, bishop takes, king h8, bishop c5, queen d7. Now just bishop f3. Also, I think queen f3 for me is doing a great job, but Bishop f3, much more stronger. Wants to exchange the queens, to bring the rook to d8, of course. And you know, the black pieces are not doing nothing in this position. So we just winning absolutely. Rook b8 was played, but for example, queen c7 was one move to consider with black, but just queen d5. The next move will be rook d1, queen d8, and yeah, it seems like black doesn't have any move here in this position. Yeah, and that's it. So yeah, he played the move rook b8, just take on the a7 pawn, rook a8, knight b6, takes, rook a7, and rook d8. And white is winning, absolutely winning. The game is over, and Nijat Abbasov, you know, he resigned the game because this bishop is under attack, this knight is under attack, and also the king is problematic here with the back rank situation. So the game is just over, and Firouzja with 1 hour on the clock, I think this is the only game in this tournament that Firouzja ended with more than 1 minute. You know, like maybe this is the only game that Firouzja didn't have had time trouble. So Firouzja, nice win. I think Abbasov, I feel like in this game Abbasov had something complicated with you know, like with his mind, because it's very difficult to play in this tournament, and you know, there are a lot of noises in the head, and you know, so much things to think about, and you know, like so much feelings during the game and during the tournament, and so much pressure from the world, from the playing hall. You know, it's very difficult to play, and Abbasov did until now very good, and you know, like I must tell that he's doing a great job in this tournament. He's playing with the best against the best players in the world, and he's trying, and you know, it's not an easy one to take off, but he's doing it. 3 out of 11. I think maybe we will see him in the next future. Maybe we'll have more wins in such tournament like candidates. So congratulations for both of the player, I must say. But Firouzja is taking the win, taking the 1 point of this game. Let's see the second game of this round. Gukesh from India against Fabiano Caruana from US. So let's see, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, knight b d7. I can tell you it's a very interesting line by black. I think one time I played it with the black pieces. It's really interesting. C takes d5. After 6 minutes of thought, it seems like Caruana already surprised Gukesh with these choose. So c takes d5, e takes d5, bishop g5, h6 was played, bishop h4, and now c6. The point that after e3, black is playing the move g5, threatening this bishop on h4, bishop g3, and now knight h5. And black claims, okay, I played the move h6, g5. I'm not sure if I will castle in the short side, but I would like to get the 2 bishops, right? So it seems like Daniel Naroditsky is you know, he wants to play against me. Always when I'm doing this streaming, he offered me a game in 3 minutes. So maybe in the last moment of the game of the video, maybe we will play against him 1 or 2 games. So be here. Don't go anywhere. So bishop d3, knight takes g3 is taking the bishop, the 2 bishops from white side. H takes g3, of course, this is the move. Bishop g7, castle, short castle, knight b6. I really like this move, knight b6. You know, like just developing knight, wants maybe to bring the bishop here or on g4, and you know, he's flexible. Maybe I want to go for a short castle. Maybe I will take the long castle. So yeah, knight b6, very strong move, I think. Queen c2, and is going for it. He's going for the short castle. Fabiano Caruana is don't afraid from anything and from anyone. So yeah, castle. b4. It seems like Gukesh already has 1 hour and 34 minutes on the clock, and Fabiano is until now on his prep. Queen e7, playing very fast, rook a b1 and bishop e6. This is the first move that Fabiano spent a lot of time, 6 minutes for him. So yeah, it makes sense. a4, knight d7, the knight on ba6 now is not doing nothing, and the bishop already on e6 development, so we can go back to d7. Maybe we'll go to f6. So knight d7, a5 was played by Gukesh. He threatened maybe to play a6, and this pawn on c6 will be very weak, so Fabiano understands, and he's playing the move a6 after 17 minutes of thoughts. Interesting to see. Yeah, so much time he thought about this move. So knight a4, you see these squares are good for white, and maybe he will jump. Maybe knight c5 after knight takes, b takes, and this pawn will be weak. So good move by Gukesh, and he's playing it very fast. Rook a d8, knight c5 is going for it. Knight takes, b takes, and f5. Fabiano is claiming, okay, I understand my pawn is weak, but I will have also this rook, and yeah, this rook will, this pawn on b7 will be defended, you know, with all my power, with all my pieces. So I'm not afraid from you, Gukesh. Queen c3 was played, rook f7, rook b4, queen c7, some moves, you know, like, and now playing the move knight e5 with 21 minutes on the clock. As you see, the moves are already 24 moves, so Gukesh has only 16 moves to play with 21 minutes, so it's not an easy, you know, like, it's not an easy thing to do. Don't forget that this tournament is without increment until move 40, without increment of half minute in each move. So bishop takes e5 was played, d takes e5, and now h5. I think very strong move by Fabiano Caruana. Also psychological move, you know, like Gukesh has only 21 minutes for 15 moves, and now maybe rook h7, h4, and maybe black will attack here. So for example, rook h7, queen f7, h4, queen h5, and you know, the king on g1 can be in danger in the next future. So f4, yeah, Gukesh understands it and is playing the move f4, very strong move, also to provide an escape with the king to f2 in some variations, and also maybe he wants to bring the king to f2 for bringing the rook on h1, and maybe white will attack in the king side. Queen d8, f takes g5. This move I'm not sure about. For example, in this position I thought like queen d4, for example. Oh, queen d4, yeah, it also makes sense for me. But you know, also king f2. What do you think about king f2? I think rook h1 will be the next move. Maybe bishop e2, maybe queen d4, maybe rook b6. You know, like to play with all the pieces. And f takes g5. You know, you can see here, this pawn is weak. 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 This pawn is weak, and this pawn is weak. Gukesh has in this position 7 pawns, and nothing can be handled. You know, like to defend each other. It's, you know, like, it's not checkers, but it's really beautiful to see such position. So white doesn't have any defended in the pawn. So in this position, this defend this one, this defend this one, and this protect this one. And now after f takes g5, all the pawns are weak, and it's something to worry about, I think. Queen takes g5, threatening this pawn, rook f3, queen g7, rook bf2, bishop d7, queen b4, and now bishop c8, and take everything here. Take on e5, takes, take here, and it's a check, and it's a check. So 3-time repetition, and Fabiano Caruana with the black pieces achieved a draw against Gukesh, the young player, the youngest player in the tournament, 17 years old, unbelievable player. Gukesh with the white pieces drew against Fabiano. Let's see the third game of this round 11, FIDE Candidates 2024. So we have Pragananda with white pieces against the only one, Hikaru Nakamura. d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5. Hikaru is playing this variation. I think already here it's really surprised Prague, and it thought like 10 minutes on c takes d5. Let's see what happened. So c takes d4. It seems like Hikaru didn't think about c takes d5. Maybe he in the preparation he thought like d takes c5. It's maybe more than fine here. e6. You can see here some beautiful lines. c takes d5, bishop c5, and now d takes c6. It's not a move because of bishop takes f2, king takes f2, and queen d1, and black is winning. So it's a really small trap here, but no, he played after c5. Prague is playing the move c takes d5. So c takes d4, queen takes d4, queen takes d5, and Hikaru is claiming, I will go to an endgame. And you know, I'm playing an endgame with the children's. The Prague is already, you know, like, it doesn't have, you know, he's a brilliant player, and I really like Prague, but you know, this kind of player, maybe Hikaru is doing and he's telling himself, I will go for an end game, and I don't want, you know, like to play maybe tactic game against Prague, and I want just to go for an end game because my experience is more than Prague, and maybe I can win him. Let's see, maybe it happened. So knight e3 takes a6, very you know, like logical move. Knight d5, this is the threat. Bishop f4, castle, castle of course, and you know, knight c7 of course. So a6 is very strong move. g3, e5, knight b3, knight c6, bishop g2, a5. It seems like in this position Hikaru already, you know, like he's playing until in his preparation, and yeah, he has a lot of time. So Prague already spent like half an hour. Knight b5. I'm not sure about this move. I think the more logical move is to play bishop g5, for example, or bishop e3. For example, bishop g5, a3, a4. I think just knight d2, knight c4, knight b6, knight b5, a3, b3, bishop b4, maybe rook c1. I think should be fine. I think white is a little bit better, in my opinion, but you know, who knows. But this a3 pawn is a little bit annoying me. But you know, bishop g5 just develop a piece. Also bishop e3 makes sense for me. For example, a4, knight c5, a3, b3. Yeah, it also makes sense. Every piece here are doing great. Rook c1, castle, and rook fd1. It seems like okay. But yeah, he's playing the move knight b5, and after 13 minutes of thought, it seems like it's a little bit was a mistake, because bishop b4, bishop d2, and just king e7. So white just bring blacks a little bit time, right? Knight b5, bishop b4 with check, and king e7. And now already the king is on the center, rook d8. And don't forget, in the end games we would like to have the king into the center, so we are not afraid to put our king on e7 by black. So a3 was played, take on d2, knight takes d2, and a4. Hikaru is playing, I think, very strong, just blocking these two pawns with this very strong a4 pawn. Knight c4, bishop e6. There is nothing to worry about for black. Rook c1 and just rook a6. Everything is defended, and yeah, black is just fine. Castle, rook d8. Makes sense. Knight e3 was played. In this position, I thought like to play something like rook c2, because I'm not sure. Maybe bishop c4 is not a threat, but in my opinion, bishop c4 and rook d2, it's a little bit annoying. These pawns on e2 or b2, it seems to be weak. But rook c2, for example, rook c2, just I can take it. Yes. So yeah. Maybe it's not so nice, but so maybe rook f1 takes rook d2, and now only this pawn, knight c3 takes here. Yeah, it's like, it seems like it needs to be drawish position, right? e3. Yeah, no, okay. I just can take it. Take knight c5. Oh, sorry, knight c5. I will take the a3 pawn with the black pieces, and white will take the b7 pawn. it's really drawish position. But he played the move knight e3, and now rook a5, threatening the knight on b5, and bishop takes e6. In this position, for example, knight c3, bring the black's opportunity to bring the knight on d4, and for example, bishop b7, rook b8, and this pawn will be taken by black. So yeah, black is just doing perfect here. The e2 pawn will be weak, the a3 pawn will be weak. So knight d4, it's already, you know, in favor of black, I think. So he played the move bishop takes c6, bishop b takes c6, and knight c3 here. Bishop b3, very strong move by Hikaru. You know, like the a4 protecting this very strong bishop, and also just avoiding from white to bring the rook into the open file, the d file. So yeah, in this position I already like black. Knight b1 played by Prague, just avoiding from playing rook d2. So rook a6, also attacking this pawn, yeah, with the rook. So rook a6 defending it. f4 was played, e4. Maybe e takes e4 was better a little bit, because you know, in this position maybe we would like to have some weaknesses in white position, and after e4 I'm not sure there are some weaknesses. Only this pawn, but e4 pawn is also not so strong here. King f2 was played, rook b8. Rook b6, sorry, knight c3. I think in this position rook c5 is the best move. I'm really sure about this one, because rook fc1 will bring the next move, and knight c4, knight c3, and you know, you're developing your rook. Maybe the rook will come to e5, maybe on a5 and a7. So rook c5, it seems like improving the piece, and it's, you know, must be the move. But after knight c3, g6 was played. You probably think about rook d2. I also not sure what Prague thought in this position, but maybe g4 with the plan of playing g5 and knight takes e4. But in this position, rook takes b2. For example, g5, knight d5, knight e4. I assume. But knight f4. Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. I'm not sure what to do. Knight takes d5, king e3, but black has one pawn up. So yeah, it seems like winning absolutely. Bishop c4, rook b3. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. So rook d2 seems to be more than logical here. But Hikaru is playing fast. I think that Hikaru has in mind that Prague has only 23 minutes on the clock and 16 moves left until move 40. So let's play fast. You see, 1 minute, 2 minutes he took for Hikaru to play g6, and maybe after g4, you know, I'm not sure what Hikaru wanted to do in this position, but also maybe knight d5 to attack this pawn on f4, and this g6 pawn was to avoid this square from the knight. So yeah, rook b1 was played. You see, Prague is playing very passive in this endgame, and it's not something good to see. I think the threat, you know, like very nice thing. I'm not sure it's working, but it seems like it's working. After rook d2, it's brilliant. I think knight takes e4, maybe, or not. Oh, bishop takes, knight c4. What do you think? These two rooks in. Oh wow! I think knight d5. I think knight d5 is working. Wow, so beautiful. For example, knight d2, e3 check, and takes the knight, and two pieces for a rook should be winning for black. And of course, after knight takes b6, just knight takes b6, and black is winning. So yeah, it's not working. My idea of taking this pawn on a4 with the fork didn't work, but it's really nice. So yeah, I'm not sure what to play after rook d2, but Hikaru is playing after 6 minutes of thought knight d5, and what is going on after knight takes e4? Let's think together. Knight takes, king takes, and bishop c2 and take on this one. Yeah, take on b2, and you know this pawn will be weak. Yeah, so knight takes e4 doesn't work for white. So he played the move rook bc1. You see, Prague just don't have power in this position. I think in this game he don't have, you know, like he didn't have the possibility to to show his talent, in this end game. And Hikaru is claiming, I know what I'm doing. I know how to win Prague with the black. Let's see if he managed to succeed in his plan. So G4, F takes G4, Knight takes G4, Knight takes F4, King E3, and this was the mistake. The very strong mistake. But it's really not an easy thing to handle in this position. With 9 minutes on the clock, he has 12 moves to play. For example, Knight takes E4 is not working because of Rook F8, and a lot of troubles here with the king on F2. For example, King E3, I think just Knight G2, King D2, Rook D8, King C3, and now Bishop E6 with the threat of the Knight on G4, Rook B3, Knight E3. So much things here with the black pieces. It seems like it's winning position. All the black pieces are very good positioned, and Hikaru is doing perfect here. So King E3 was played, Knight D5. In this position, maybe King E1, to open this file for a Rook, and also to take this pawn on E4, but also Knight G2, for example, King F2, maybe Knight H4 here. I'm not sure about this position. Maybe Bishop E6 or Rook F4. Maybe Knight E6, Knight E4, and Bishop D5, and this pawn. Yeah, it's not an easy take here. Rook A2, Rook B3. Yeah, it's really difficult to understand, but it seems, of course, that black is better. The pawns are weak, and black is trying to take them with this strong bishop on D5. So Hikaru is doing perfect here, and also on the clock. So it will be very, very difficult for Prague. King 3 was played, Knight D5, King takes E4, Knight takes E3, B takes E3. In this position, I think Hikaru played fast. He had 4 minutes on the clock, but in this position, C5 was very strong move to bring the rook from B6 to E6, and so much troubles here on the king in the center of the board. So C5, I think, was the very strong move to bring the rook into the game. But he played the move Knight C3, B takes C3, C5. Now he's bringing the rook, Rook F4. I'm not sure why Prague didn't take with the king. I think Bishop D5 and Rook takes B2. Yeah, unfortunately, it's bad for Prague. I think maybe King E3, Rook B2, Knight E5 here, Rook E8. Knight C6 is losing. Bishop takes, Rook D7, Rook C6 and King D7, and the Rook just What can we do? So B takes C3 was played, C5, the rook is coming, you can see this rook is not working, this knight is just, flew in the air. The rook is good, but the king is in E4, very bad. Rook F4 was played, Bishop D5, King E3, and H5, it's a game over because of Knight E5 just losing after Rook E6, and Knight F2 is losing because of Rook E6, and King D2, and just G5. And there is nothing to do with the rook because of Rook F5, just Bishop E4 with check and take the rook, and there is nothing to move with this rook. So it's a game over. He played the move C4, Bishop A8, and Knight H6, the only move that is not losing immediately the knight. Rook E6 check, King F2, and now Rook F6, exchanging this rook and providing access for the king to take this knight on H6. So King G3 was played, Rook H8, takes, check, King G7, Knight F5, of course Knight F7, just losing to Rook F8, and the game is over. So we played Knight F5, takes, Rook C8, take on H5, Bishop B7, King F4. It's only a matter of technique here, King G6, Rook H4, King G5, taking the pawn, and it's of course a game over in this level. There is nothing to do. Rook B3 check, very beautiful solution by Hikaru. King takes A4, takes, and just C3, and promoting a queen. And Hikaru achieved a very, very important game, very important win with the black pieces against Pragananda. Unbelievable game by Hikaru. Is going with the youngest players into an endgame, and easy, one by one move development, improving the pieces, and he achieved a very important win in these FIDE Candidates 2024. Hikaru Nakamura with 6.5 points of 11 out of 11 points. So Hikaru is doing a great job, and maybe he will be the next challenger. Maybe Hikaru Nakamura will be the next world champion. Let's see the last game of this round. Let's go to Vidit against Yanni Pomnishi. So we have the Petrov, like we know, from Russia. Yanni Pomnishi is playing the Petrov defense, the Russian defense. Knight c4 by Vidit, takes the queen e2, queen e7, knight c3, and he's going to the endgame. So another endgame, very in the very beginning of the opening. Yanni Pomnishi, the solid one in the black pieces, you know, that has a more experience versus Vidit in these endgames. So it seems like Yanni Pomnishi is doing the same approach into the games against the Indian players. So let's see if he will achieve the win like Hikaru Nakamura against Prague. So b6 was played, d4, bishop e6, a4, castle, knight e3, bishop g5, developing a bishop, putting the bishop in the good square. I think in this position I will take black 100%. Knight d7 will be the next move. Rook e8, you know, there is nothing to worry about for black, but for white, this pawn is weak, this pawn is a little bit weak, and you know, the white pieces are not developed at all. So c4, rook e8, h4, bishop f6, c3, c5. In this position, it seems like white is just bad. And yeah, Yanni Pomnishi is doing a very good choice in the opening. He's going for an endgame with the Petrov defense against Vidit. Let's see. Bishop d3. And now I assume that you will ask me, white c takes d4. C takes d4, white should be, you know, like c takes d4 and bishop takes d4. What he's doing? But bishop e4. There is a very annoying move here. The rook on a8 is under attack, and what we need to do here. So in general, also knight d7. Maybe interesting move. Takes, and you know, black sacrifice a pawn, you know, exchange. But these two bishops are doing very strong work. Knight c5. Will add the pressure on this weak pawn on a4, rook c8 on this weak pawn on c4, and I'm not sure about this position. Maybe also in this position I like black, but in this position also d5 is working, because bishop takes d5, for example, just bishop takes, c takes, and knight d7, and the pawns are weak. Rook c8, rook c4, you know, knight f6, this pawn is weak. Yeah, and what white can do, I'm not sure. The white pieces are really passive in this position. For example, c takes d5 also makes sense, but just bishop d7 with the double attack here. So bishop c2, knight a6, and also will bring the knight here, rook a c8. The black pieces are just, you know, like unbelievable development here, and it seems like white in very big danger. So let's see. Knight c6 was played. It's a little bit you know, surprising to see Yanni Pomnishi is not taking the pawn on d4, but knight c6 also makes sense. And d5, now knight e5 was played, bishop takes h7, king takes h7, and d takes e6, and f takes e6, of course, taking with the pawn, because rook takes e6 also makes sense, but this square for the knight will be very important for white in the, you know, like in the future. Of course, not immediately, but in the future it will be not an easy to kick in away from this very you know, like center square like d5. So f takes c6 makes a lot of sense. This, you know, controlling these squares. f5 on d5, king e2, rook a d8, g4, g6. Of course wanted to play g5, and now g6 prevent it, because g5 just bishop g7 like played. a5, you know, Vidit is playing with in the both sides. B takes a5, rook b7, bringing the rook on b7. A little bit, a little bit good moves, I think, by Vidit. A little bit improving his control in the game and also his pieces. Rook b7, rook d1, creating some work for his pieces. Rook d7 was played, take, and rook d1, and bishop f8. You see now a little bit the black pieces, a little bit not in the best squares for them, and they try to defend the pawns. So knight g4 was played, also with the point of to play bishop f4 and threatening this d6 pawn. Rook b8 was played, bishop f4. Sorry, rook b2 check, king f3, e5, and yeah, now this square on d5 is really nice for the knight on d5. The white knight to bring somehow like this. Bishop e3 was played, knight b6, knight f6 check, king h8, and now king e4 was played with the white pieces. It seems like the game was changed absolutely in this position. The black pieces are doing very bad. The f8 bishop is like a big pawn, and of course one pawn up for black, but h5, rook h1, a lot of threats here, and it seems like something went wrong for Yanni Pomnishi in this game. So maybe his plan to play an endgame against the young player, the young grandmaster from India, is not a good choice. But let's see. a4 was played, rook a1, rook b3, and now king d3. This was maybe a one mistake. What do you think about the move h5? I think after g takes h5, just king f5, king g6, rook f1, h1, and it's a threat of checkmate. Yeah, king f5. It seems like it's just winning for white, and the active pieces for white is just brilliant. The knight on f6 is doing so good job. Bishop e3 also makes a lot of protecting the pawns, and maybe in the future will be a much more strong player, a strong piece in the attack of the king on h8. And also this pawn will run g6 and makes a lot of troubles for the king on h8. So yeah, king d3 was a mistake. I think it seems like Vidit with 9 minutes on the clock for 7 more moves. In this tournament, it's unbelievable to see how much the clock situation is important. It's really important. King d3 played because of the time trouble here. I'm sure 100% that Vidit in every game will play here h5. After rook takes c3, for example, h takes g6, the next move will be king f5. Oh, sorry. Yeah, rook c4, for example, king f5. It seems like rook h4 is the only move, just not, to get checkmate. But in this position, a lot of things to analyze. I'm not sure. What about king e6, for example? I want to bring king to f7, but king g7 must be the move. Yeah, so maybe king e6, not a smart move. Maybe knight e8 with the plan of king f6 and king f7 to bring the king on g7. Yeah, it's really unbelievable position to play. Of course, in time trouble here, but he played the move king d3. a3 was played, bishop c1 and a5. Bishop takes a3 and d5. And this, in this position, it's really nice to think about some beautiful line. What do you think about the move knight takes d5? Knight takes d5. I really sure that Vidit thought that knight takes d5, c takes d5, and now rook takes a3, for example. Rook takes a3, c4 check, take, and king b5. And in this position, c4, c6, c5, d6. For me, white is winning. No, it seems like just it's a game over. These pawns are also running if the king will come fast. It seems like it's game over, and yeah, it's really shocking. Yeah, knight takes d5. It looks like it's winning absolutely. Just knight takes d5 takes. Yeah, there is nothing to do. King c4 the next move. So c4 needs to be played. Takes, and king b5, and the pawns are running. Yeah, I think knight takes d5 just will finish the game. And Vidit with 6 minutes on the clock played the move king c2. One more minute he played it, and he very, very afraid to play this kind of position without time. But knight takes d5, I think, just was a winning move for white. D takes c4, of course. Now the rook on b3 was covered by the pawn on c4. Knight e4, and you see Vidit is coming back. He's playing a little bit passive, and now it's black's turn to play a little bit active. So rook d1, bishop e7, bringing the bishop to e7, and now king is coming, bishop d6. Each move, black is, developing and improving his pieces. Bishop c1, knight d5 is bringing into the game. Bishop knight e4, king f7. Of course, they already crossed the 40 moves, and the king is coming. Bishop d2, a4, knight b6, bishop e3, rook b5, and now king is coming. Rook a5, king b2, king is coming. Rook b5, king. Another move to f5, and yeah, it seems like it's bad position for Vidit. After he was absolutely winning by white, now he's doing a bad position here. And what can he do? What about the situation of the pawns? So black has one pawn up, right? Okay. f3, knight d5, king takes a4, rook b8, and now the king is a little bit not safe in the a4 square. So knight takes e4. Now Vidit has one pawn up. But Yanni Pomnishi, with 4 minutes on the clock against 6 minutes of Vidit, this game of chess is just unbelievable. All of the game, it's a road to play such sport. With so many up and downs. It's really, I think, in my opinion, chess is just the most, difficult game to play, to handle, because you're only alone. I always tell my students that in chess it's not like in football. When Barcelona has Lionel Messi and he scores 5 goals, but Piqué did one mistake in the defense, and they got 1 goal, so the game was finished by 5-1. Nothing can happen to Piqué, and anyone, just all the viewers and the fans remember how Messi scores 5 goals and Barcelona won the game. So, in chess, this is only you are playing without any help from Lionel Messi, right? So yeah, e4 was played, f takes e4, and the time trouble is making noise here. King takes e4, bishop f2, king d3 is coming, bishop g3, knight takes c3. Of course, rook takes c3 seems to be just losing after here, and in this position, bishop e5. I'm not sure it's losing, but it's interesting. King d5, bishop b2, for example, king e6, king b5, king f5, bishop c3, king g4, bishop e1. Just yes, to defend this pawn. Yeah, it seems like it's draw. It's a draw. It seems like rook c3 with 1 minute on the clock. Vidit has to see this move and draw. I think just draw the position. But king a3 was played, rook b4, and knight b2. The last chance to survive this game was to play knight e5, king d2, and now something like rook f1, rook g1, and to claim that bishop e1 is a threat, and also knight g6 it's a threat. So maybe in this position, but c4 with rook b3 checkmate. Wow, it's really difficult. Bishop e1, king c2, or king e2. What do you think? Maybe king e2, or maybe c2. Also c2 for me makes sense. But rook g2. But rook g2 is a problem here. Bishop takes c3, rook b2, king a4 takes, knight takes c4, king b5. Yeah, king b5, knight g6. Yeah, it should be draw. King takes c4. Yeah. King takes c4, and it should be a very easy draw by white. But he played the move knight b2, and this is a losing move. King d2 was played, rook f1, and now c4. And this knight on b2 is very passive, and now there is nothing to do. Rook f2, knight e2 was played. Rook b3 is a threat, c3 is a threat, and king e3 also is a threat. Bishop e5 was played, c3, rook f7, rook b7 check. and c2 was played, and knight c4, king d3, knight b2, king e4. And yeah, Yanni Pomnishi with the black pieces in this unbelievable endgame. He was lost and he was winning and it was drawish. But in the end, Yanni Pomnishi with the black pieces in the Petrov, in the Russian defense, he's achieved a very important win by the black pieces with a 7 out of 11. Yanni Pomnishi is leading the tournament. Maybe we will see him again playing the world championship match against Grandmaster Ding Liren. Wow, it will be very, very interesting to see such, rematch of the last time. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are finishing our recap of round 11 in this FIDE Candidates 2024. I know this was a little bit difficult to see this video because it's 50 minutes, but it was a very crazy games and so much things to tell. So I hope you enjoy. Please smash the button like, subscribe my channel, comment, share to your friends and family, and we will see you again here. So tomorrow, don't forget the title Tuesday in 6 o'clock in our country. So let's be in touch. See you soon. Bye bye.